If you were the one who had to leave home at 18 and never look back. If you were the one who couldn't sit through a holiday dinner without feeling your skin crawl from the weight of unspoken judgments. There is a specific psychological reason for that. And it has nothing to do with you being broken. In fact, the very reason you felt like an alien in the house you grew up in is the precise reason you are capable of seeing what no one else in your bloodline has ever been able to see. You are not just a person who doesn't fit in. You are the carrier of a specific, invisible, and terrifyingly heavy piece of psychological cargo that your entire family system has been trying to hide for generations, and they don't even know they gave it to you. Welcome to the psychology of the unconscious emissary. Phase 1. The assignment you didn't sign up for. Most people believe that family roles are assigned through explicit conversation. They think you're the smart one because you got good grades, or the funny one because you told jokes at dinner. But beneath the surface of these conscious labels, there is a far more powerful, unspoken system operating in the dark. This system is not based on who you are, but on what the family cannot hold. Imagine the human psyche of a family as a container. This container is filled with memories, values, trauma, joy, and secrets. Over time, every family unit accumulates a specific kind of sediment. This sediment is made of the emotions that were too dangerous to express, the desires that were too shameful to admit, and the truths that were too painful to speak out loud. Now ask yourself this: where does that sediment go? It doesn't just vanish. In the world of physics, energy is not created or destroyed. It only changes form. In the world of family psychology, emotional charge is not deleted. It is transferred. And for reasons we are going to unpack in this documentary, the family system, operating with a kind of unconscious intelligence, selects one specific vessel to hold all of this toxic, radioactive waste. That vessel, more often than not, is you. This is not a metaphor. This is a psychological law of group dynamics. When a group cannot integrate its shadow, the parts of itself it deems unacceptable, it must project that shadow outward. And the most convenient target is the one who is most sensitive, the one who is most awake, the one who refuses to play the game of pretend. You didn't choose to be the black sheep. You were elected to carry the family's unconscious shadow. You are what we call the generational shadow carrier. But here is the twist that changes everything, and it's the reason you need to watch until the very end. You are not just the garbage disposal of your family's dysfunction. You are also the seismograph of their potential. The very traits they exiled in you, your sensitivity, your rebellion, your desire for something more, are the exact traits they lost in themselves generations ago. And by understanding this role, you don't just heal the isolation. You reclaim a power that belongs to the lineage, not just the individual. The specific weight of the first awake. There is a particular agony that comes with being the first person in a family line to achieve a certain level of psychological awareness. It is the agony of the translator who has no one to speak to. You begin to notice patterns. You notice that grandma's anxiety spikes every time someone mentions travel. You notice that dad's jaw clenches whenever you talk about your art. You are seeing the world in 4K resolution, while the rest of the family is watching an old, grainy VH tape that keeps skipping. You try to point out the details. Look, the sky is blue in this scene. And they look at you with confusion or hostility because, on their tape, the sky is gray. This discrepancy is the birthplace of the black sheep wound. It is not that you are wrong. It is that your clarity is a threat to the consensus reality of the tribe. Phase 2. The haunted house of lineage. Let's step back from the nuclear family dinner table and look at the architecture of time. We often think of ourselves as isolated units, a new iPhone model dropped into the world with no connection to the previous versions. But your nervous system is not new. It is a refurbished model, running on the software of your ancestors. This is what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious, but let's make it visceral, not academic. Think of your family tree not as a nice photo album, but as a house. A very old house. You are born into a specific room in this house. The room has been decorated by your parents, but the foundation was poured by your great-grandparents. The plumbing, the way emotions flow through the walls, was installed by survivors of wars, famines, or great migrations. Some of these pipes are clogged with grief. Some of the wiring is frayed from fear. When you walk into that house as a child, you are highly perceptive. You don't have the cognitive filter yet to say, "Oh, that's Dad's unresolved anger from losing his own father." You just feel the tension in the walls. You sense the cold spot in the hallway where nobody talks about Great Aunt Margaret. You notice the way the floorboards creak when the topic of money or love comes up. The family system has an unspoken rule: don't talk about the ghosts. Pretend the house is a perfect sunny cottage. Most children learn to comply. They learn to step over the creaky floorboard without looking down. They learn to ignore the strange smell coming from the basement. They become co-conspirators in the denial. But the shadow carrier, you, cannot ignore it. You are the one who keeps looking at the basement door. You are the one who asks, "What's that sound?" And for asking that question, you are labeled difficult. The neurobiology of the unspoken. Let's add a layer of hard science to this haunting metaphor. Your brain, specifically the amygdala and the anterior cingulate cortex, develops in relation to the emotional environment of the house. If you grow up in a home where A is said, but B is meant, your brain undergoes a specific kind of training called high context calibration. You become a master of reading between the lines because your survival depended on it. If Mom said "I'm fine," but the vein in her neck was pulsing, you learn to read the vein, not the words. This constant state of high alert scanning is exhausting, but it gives you a superpower. You cannot be gaslit. Why? Because your body keeps the score. Your nervous system knows the truth even if the narrative denies it. This is why the family finds you so unnerving. You are a living, breathing lie detector test that they cannot unplug. Let's look at 3 distinct psychological types of the shadow carrier. See if you recognize the blueprint of your own exile. Type 1. The receptacle of grief. This occurs when a family has experienced a profound loss. A child who died young, a father who drank himself into oblivion, a mother who was institutionalized, but the grief was never processed. It was just frozen. The family operates with a thin veneer of "we're fine." You, as the sensitive child, walk into the room and you feel the iceberg. You become sad, melancholic, or withdrawn. The family looks at you and says, "What's wrong with you? Why are you always so heavy?" They don't realize they are looking at a mirror reflecting the frozen grief of 1928. You are not depressed because of a chemical imbalance in your brain, though that may manifest. You are depressed because you are carrying the family's unshed tears. Type 2. The vessel of forbidden desire. Your grandmother wanted to be an artist. Your grandfather wanted to be a dancer. They were crushed by the Great Depression or the rigid gender roles of the 1950s. They had to get a real job or settle down. That creative, wild, erotic, or adventurous energy didn't die. It went underground. It became a pressure cooker. Then you are born, and you have this inexplicable burning need to paint, or travel the world, or break up with a stable partner because it doesn't feel right. The family sees your life choices, the instability of an artist, the risk-taking of an entrepreneur, and they panic. They call you reckless. They call you the black sheep. But you are not reckless. You are completing an unfinished motion. You are living the life they were too afraid to live. Your presence is an accusation, not because you speak it, but because your existence proves that another path was possible. Type 3. The mirror of hypocrisy. This is the most volatile type. The family has a very rigid moral or social code. We don't show anger. We don't talk about sex. We are always polite. We are good Christians/Muslims/Jews. But beneath that veneer, there is rage, there is infidelity, there is judgment. You are the one who can smell the disconnect. When Uncle Robert makes a passive-aggressive comment, you are the one whose eyebrow twitches. When Mom pretends everything is fine after a screaming match, you are the one who goes silent, making the silence awkward. You are the barometer of authenticity. And people who are living a lie hate the barometer. They will do anything to break the instrument that is reading their pressure. They will call you too sensitive, dramatic, or crazy. But you are none of those things. You are simply accurate. A deeper dive into Type 3, the cost of congruence. There is a specific psychological term for what Type 3 experiences: epistemic vigilance. It is the instinct to trust only information that aligns with internal sensory and intuitive data. When the family says, "We love you," but your body feels cold around them, your epistemic vigilance triggers a red alert. You reject the statement. This is a sign of a healthy, functioning psyche. Yet the family will pathologize this as paranoia or holding grudges. Understand this clearly. The family system is a cult of 2 or more people, and the black sheep is the one who refuses to drink the Kool-Aid. The friction you feel is not a sign of your illness. It is a sign of your immune system fighting off a psychological infection. But why do they project it onto you? What is the mechanism? It's not just random cruelty. There is a psychological survival instinct at play, and understanding it is the key to your freedom. Phase 3. The mechanism of projection. To truly understand the gravity of this position, we have to look at the concept of psychic economy. Every person has a limited amount of emotional energy. Facing your own shadow, the parts of yourself you hate or fear, is the most expensive psychological transaction you can make. It requires immense energy, pain, and disintegration of the ego. Most people cannot afford it. They are bankrupt of courage. So, what does the family system do? It outsources the cost. Imagine the family has a shared spreadsheet of emotions. There is a column for shame. There is a column for grief. There is a column for anger. In a healthy family, every member takes a small, manageable portion of these heavy emotions and processes them. They talk about it. They cry. They heal. In an unhealthy family, the system looks at the spreadsheet and says, "This is too expensive. Let's dump all of column A into cell U." This is why you have felt since childhood a weight that didn't seem to belong to you. You would walk into a room and suddenly feel anxious, or dirty, or wrong. This is called introjective identification. You are not just imagining that people are looking at you with disappointment. You are literally swallowing their projected disappointment. You are digesting the emotion that they refuse to chew. Let's use a specific original story to illustrate this. The story of the Silent Symphony. Imagine a lineage of musicians. In 1880, a young man wants to be a composer, but his father forces him into the blacksmith shop. The music inside him dies, but the vibration of that unplayed note continues through the bloodline. His son becomes a rigid accountant who hates noise. His granddaughter becomes a woman who taps her fingers nervously, but never touches a piano. Then, you are born, and you are haunted by sounds. You hear melodies in your head that you can't write down. You feel a deep, aching sadness whenever you hear an orchestra. The family sees you moping and says, "Stop being so dramatic. There's no money in music. Get a real job like your father." But they are not talking to you. They are talking to the ghost of the blacksmith shop in 1880. They are reenacting a conversation that should have happened 140 years ago. And you are the stage for that old, tired play. The role of the identified patient. In clinical family therapy, there is a term for this: the identified patient, IP. The IP is the person who exhibits the symptoms of the family's dysfunction. They are the one who becomes depressed, gets addicted, or acts out. The family can then point to the IP and say, "See? He's the problem. If only he would get his act together, our family would be fine." This is a brilliant, if unconscious, defense mechanism. It allows the rest of the family to avoid looking at the systemic rot. The IP is the sacrifice that keeps the family religion going. And here is the painful truth. The IP is usually the most honest person in the system. They are the canary that died. The rest of the family is just holding their breath and pretending the mind is full of oxygen. The 3 burdens you carry. 1. The burden of seeing. You are not psychic. You are hypervigilant. Because you were never given a stable, truthful emotional environment, your nervous system evolved to read micro-expressions like a CIA profiler. You know when someone is lying before they finish the sentence. You know when a smile is a mask. In a family that operates on everything is fine, seeing clearly is a crime. It is a betrayal of the collective delusion. They need you to be blind so they can continue to believe their own lies. If you see the truth, you threaten the structural integrity of the false world they've built. 2. The burden of feeling. They gave you the oversensitive label as if it was a defect. But sensitivity is not weakness. It is high-definition perception. The problem is not that you feel too much. The problem is that they feel too little, or they have numbed themselves so deeply that your baseline of feeling seems like a tsunami to them. You are the canary in the coal mine. When the air is toxic, the canary dies. The family doesn't want to fix the air in the mine. They just want a different canary that can breathe poison. You cannot. That is your strength. 3. The burden of expression. This is the most dangerous of the 3. You have a compulsion to say something, to write it down, to paint it, to scream it. This is the pressure of the unspoken history trying to become conscious. The family has kept a secret for 100 years. That secret is like a boulder sitting on the floor of the ocean. You are the first wave that crashes against it and makes it visible. The family will try to calm the wave. They will try to silence you. Because if that boulder becomes visible, the whole ship might sink. A closer look at the danger of expression. Why is expression so threatening? Because the family system is a closed loop. A closed loop is a system that recycles the same energy without input or output. It maintains equilibrium by enforcing silence. When you express the truth, you are introducing an output. You are letting air into a vacuum-sealed room. The initial reaction is a violent implosion. They will gaslight you. They will tell you that you are creating drama or digging up the past. But what you are actually doing is psychic ventilation. You are opening a window in a house that has smelled of decay for decades. The fresh air burns at first. It stings the eyes. But it is the only thing that can prevent the entire structure from rotting from the inside out. So how do you survive being the one who sees, feels, and speaks? Do you stay in exile forever? No. This is where the psychology shifts from diagnosis to alchemy. This is the turning point. Phase 4. The alchemy of exile. Most self-help advice for the black sheep focuses on setting boundaries or cutting off toxic family. And while those are necessary triage steps, they are not the cure. They are like putting a bandage on a wound that has a piece of shrapnel lodged deep inside. The shrapnel is the unconscious contract you signed with the family system. The turning point is not when you leave the house physically. The turning point is when you reclaim the projection. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, distinct from the collective. For the shadow carrier, individuation is a specific, radical act. It is the act of saying, "This weight I am carrying, it is not mine. But I am going to open it up and look at it, and I am going to decide what to do with it." When you are the black sheep, the family narrative is, "There is something wrong with you." The psychological reframe, the liberation is, there is something buried in the family that has been assigned to me. I am not the problem. I am the excavation site. Let's introduce a concept we call narrative sovereignty. As long as you define yourself by their story, I'm the screw-up, I'm the distant one, you are still living inside their haunted house, just hiding in the attic. To achieve narrative sovereignty, you must perform 3 psychological operations. Operation 1. The inventory of ancestral debt. Take out a piece of paper. Do not write about you. Write about them. Write down the dreams your mother gave up. Write down the fear your father carried. Write down the unspoken trauma of the generation before them, or poverty, immigration, loss of status. This is not to excuse their behavior. Abuse is abuse. Neglect is neglect. This is an intelligence-gathering exercise. When you see that your mother's obsession with what the neighbors think stems from her own mother's shame of being poor in the Dust Bowl, something clicks. You stop taking it personally. You realize, oh, I've been wrestling with a ghost wearing my mother's face. Once you see the ghost, you can stop fighting the person. You can almost feel a sense of pity. And pity is the first step toward freedom, a practical extension, the genogram of grief. To deepen Operation 1, use a technique from family systems therapy, the genogram. A genogram is a family tree that tracks not just births and deaths, but relationships and traumas. On a piece of paper, draw your family tree. Next to each name, write one word. What was their unlived life? Next to your grandfather, freedom. Next to your aunt, silence. Next to your father, tenderness. When you look at this map, you will see the river of frozen potential that has been flowing toward you for centuries. You are the dam break. You are the one where the ice melts. Operation 2. The extraction of the golden shadow. This is the most beautiful part of the work. Remember how we said the family projects the shadow onto you? They also project the golden shadow. The golden shadow is the greatness they were afraid to claim. Your uncle's hidden compassion. Your grandmother's hidden fire. Your father's hidden playfulness. Look at the trait they most criticized you for. If they called you too sensitive, that means they suppressed their own capacity for empathy and deep connection. Your sensitivity is actually a high-level social and emotional radar that they lost. If they called you lazy, rough, often, this is projection from workaholics who cannot sit still, because if they stop moving, they have to feel their feelings. Your laziness might be a natural inclination toward being rather than doing, a state of restoration the entire family desperately needs but cannot access. If they called you selfish, this is the projection of the martyr complex. You choosing yourself threatens their narrative that life is only valuable if you sacrifice yourself for others. Your selfishness is the healthy self-preservation they never learned. When you reclaim the golden shadow, you stop being the black sheep and become the guardian of the lineage's lost treasure. Operation 3. Symbolic disobedience. You cannot change them. Let this sink in. You cannot make them see the truth. Trying to do so is the deepest trap of the black sheep role. It keeps you engaged in the system, screaming into the void, hoping for validation that will never come from a source that is incapable of giving it. Instead, you engage in symbolic disobedience. Symbolic disobedience is doing the thing you love without asking for permission, without explaining it, and without expecting applause. If the family ethos is safety and security, and you start a risky business, do it. Don't ask for their blessing. Their anxiety is their burden. Your job is to live. If the family ethos is don't air dirty laundry, and you write a memoir or a blog post, publish it. The silence was killing the lineage. Your voice is the antidote. This act of living your truth in spite of the family narrative is what severs the energetic cord. It is the moment you stop being the scapegoat and start being the pattern breaker. The physics of symbolic disobedience. There is a quantum principle here. In family systems, attention is energy. When you try to convince them, you are feeding your life force into their vacuum. When you stop explaining and start doing, you withdraw that energy. The system, starved of your reaction, begins to wobble. They might escalate their attacks. This is the extinction burst of a dying pattern. But if you hold your ground, the projection screen goes blank. They have to find somewhere else to put their garbage. Or, and this is the revolutionary possibility, they have to sit with their own mess for the first time in their lives. But what happens after the cord is cut? What does life look like for the one who is seen behind the curtain? Phase 5. The solemn sovereignty. The integration of this knowledge is not a Hollywood ending where you go home for Thanksgiving and everyone apologizes and cries and says, "You were right all along." That is a fantasy. The integration is a quiet, profound shift in your internal atmosphere. When you understand that you are the unconscious emissary, you stop craving their approval. Why would you need the approval of people who are asleep? You don't ask a sleepwalker for directions. Instead, you develop a new kind of relationship with the world. This is the stage of solemn sovereignty. 1. The end of hypervigilance. Because you are no longer trying to decode their hidden messages, your nervous system gets a chance to rest. You stop scanning faces for signs of rejection. You realize that their rejection was never about your worth. It was about their capacity. A cup that is full of poison cannot hold fresh water. It's not the water's fault. You stop trying to be a cup to a family that only drinks poison. You find your own stream. 2. The honoring of the role. This is a difficult but essential piece. You do not need to forgive them if that word feels hollow. But you can honor the mechanism. You can say, "I see what happened. I see the trauma that created this. I see that I was chosen for a hard, lonely road. And I walked it." There is a dignity in this that transcends victimhood. You were the one who had to carry the weight so that the lineage could one day have a chance to breathe. You are the advanced scout. The scout goes ahead into the unknown territory. The scout gets shot at. The scout gets lost. But the scout is the only one who knows the map. You are the one who knows the map of your family's soul. That is a position of power, not weakness. 3. The new definition of family. As you step into this sovereignty, you realize that blood is just one type of covenant. The deeper covenant is recognition. You will find others who also saw the ghosts in their houses. You will find others who also had to leave at 18. And when you meet them, there is no explanation needed. There is just a nod, a quiet understanding. You build a family based on shared awakening, not just shared Dina. This does not mean you hate your biological family. It means you have reclassified them. They are not your primary source of identity anymore. They are a complex historical project that you have studied, understood, and respectfully placed in the archives. You visit the archive occasionally, but you no longer live there. 4. The legacy shift. This is the ultimate payoff. If you have children, or if you influence any younger person, you have changed the trajectory of the bloodline. The sediment stops here. The energy that came to you as shame, grief, and unspoken rage stops at your feet. You process it. You alchemize it. You turn it into art, or wisdom, or just quiet strength. And what flows from you to the next generation is not poison. It is clarity. Your children will not have to carry the weight of a blacksmith shop from 1880. They will not have to be the receptacle for your repressed desires, because you lived your desires. You faced the dragon. You are the one who broke the chain. This is the hidden meaning of the black sheep. The black wool stands out against the white flock. It is visible. It is marked. But in the wild, the black wolf is not an outcast. The black wolf is just the one who hunts at night, the one who sees in the dark, You were never a curse on the family. You were a night vision, the psychological marker of the liberated emissary. There is a specific, tangible sign that you have successfully navigated this journey. It is not a feeling of euphoria. It is a feeling of quiet boredom with the old drama. You will find yourself in a situation where someone in the family tries to pull you back into the old dance. A passive-aggressive text, a guilt trip about not visiting enough. And instead of your heart racing with anxiety or rage, you will simply feel tired. Not the tiredness of depression, the tiredness of an adult being asked to play a game of Candyland. You look at the board, you see the pieces, and you realize you don't have to roll the dice. You can just get up from the table. That apathy is the holy grail. It is the death of the projection. The screen has gone dark. The movie is over. And you are free to walk out into the lobby of your own life. Closing reflection. As we close this exploration, I want you to sit with one final image. Imagine the family tree again. But this time, don't look at the branches. Look at the roots. Deep in the dark, tangled soil of the past, there is a knot. A place where the flow of life was constricted, where water couldn't reach the leaves. You were not a broken branch that fell off. You were the root that broke through the concrete. The concrete was the collective expectation. The concrete was the fear. The concrete was the lie that kept everyone in their place. And you, with your sensitivity, your questions, and your refusal to fit the mold, you cracked it open. And because you cracked it open, sunlight can now reach places in that soil where it has never been before. That is not the role of the outcast. That is the role of the liberator. The journey is not about going back to fix them. It is about walking forward, fully aware of the weight you've set down. And finally, for the first time, feeling the lightness of being exactly who you were always meant to be. Thank you for watching. If this journey resonated with the deeper parts of your psyche, I invite you to sit with this reflection and perhaps share it with another soul who is tired of being called too much for simply being awake.